Hi guys, welcome back to 38 Smiles. Today in our Zoom meeting, we have a very special guest. We have Dr. DiTolla. So Kevin, why don't you set up the show?
So one of the things we wanted to get your opinion on, Dr. DiTolla, was we get questions, and one of them is that dentists continue to have issues with their temporaries falling off. So what are your thoughts on that, real quickly?
Yeah, that is I'm not a big fan of temporary crowns. I'll be honest. I'm not. I really don't like them. I wish chairside CAD CAM systems were easier to use, so everybody could implement them, and temporaries would become extinct, like smallpox. We wouldn't even have to think about it anymore. But in the meantime, as long as temporaries exist, let's keep them on for the shortest time possible. And that's one of the reasons that I, like you guys, am passionate about 3-day crowns, because temporaries do have a tendency to fall off because we're putting them on with a cement that's designed to fail. You know, the reason we don't use a permanent cement is it would never come off, or if it did, the cement would be stuck to the tooth. So by design, we want it to fail. We want to be able to wiggle it. The average dentist is going to take it off 2 weeks later, and they want it to fall right off and have the cement fall right off the tooth. Well, of course, temporaries are falling off. The other thing is we have such good permanent cements today that our crown preps don't need to be as retentive as they used to be. So in the old days, when we're using Flex and Duralon, your preps had to be much more retentive, and you saw dentists doing boxes and grooves and all kinds of retentive features in their preparations. The permanent cements today are so good that you can get away with over-tapered preparations, and the permanent crown will still stay on, but the temporary has a higher chance of falling off. So the key here, there's no secret. I mean, everybody's using the same temporary cements. The key is keep the temporary on for the shortest time period possible. And one reason is because it might fall off. And then if you wait, there's less of a chance the crown's going to fit. The second reason is that the occlusion could be off on the crown. And so if the temporary's in for 2 weeks, the tooth could over erupt, and now you're going to have to do unnecessary occlusal adjustment on the crown, and it's going to be ugly afterwards. The third thing is the proximal contacts on the temporary might be open, and so teeth could drift proximally, and then a crown will be too tight and it won't fit. The bottom line is nothing good happens when you put a temporary crown on. In fact, when you put a temporary on, there's 6 things can happen, and they're all bad. So in a perfect world, we wouldn't have any temporaries at all, but that world is still 10, 15 years away. So in the meantime, let's keep the temporary in the shortest time possible. In my experience, practicing with you guys in the laboratory, is when we start seating crowns in 3 days, my occlusal adjustments went down to almost zero. Proximal adjustments went down to almost zero. And the great news is, because I was using Relic Christensen's 2 1-minute coats of Gluma on the tooth prior to putting the temporary on, when you take the temporary crown off 3 days later, the tooth is still desensitized, so you don't even have to anesthetize somebody to put the permanent crown on, versus when you do it in 2 weeks. So there's plenty of reasons to do it in 3-day crowns. And the interesting thing is, in the middle of this COVID-19 epidemic or pandemic, most dentists didn't want to try the 3-day crown concept because their schedules were so full that they were booked out already 3 days later. This pandemic, and whenever we get to open our offices again, gives dentists a unique chance to try some things they haven't tried before because they've got an open schedule. So whether it's doing digital impression scans, maybe you own a unit, you were too busy to ever learn how or thought it would slow you down, this is a unique opportunity for you to have time to do it. It's the perfect time to try 3-day crowns, because the day you open your dental office, you're not going to be booked for a couple of weeks. Is a perfect opportunity to try a new habit. And maybe you always wanted to try it, but were too busy to try it. I can tell you from my own experience, you're going to see less occlusal adjustment, less proximal surface adjustment, crowns dropping into place, happier patients, less of a need to anesthetize patients on the seat appointment. Nothing but good things. So take advantage of having our offices closed for 6 weeks if we get to reopen them then, and start some good new habits that you haven't done before. It's the perfect time to try 3-day crowns.